once you know the basics. Okay, Bismillah, let's start. Now, this is a day where I think since you started programming, you were thinking the first time I'm going to program something like a window where I'm going to be able to design things. And then you were disappointed to see that your programming was just a small text that I'm writing somewhere and blah, 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 etc. A whole lot of weeks went by, and then now this is the time when you're going to be able, inshallah, to design an application that is going to be graphical, a user interface application, where you're going to be moving things around, clicking, typing, pressing, and things like that. Now, we couldn't start immediately with this because we're not going to be designing everything from scratch. Because if you'd like to design an application, a window, this is all something that you have to implement yourself. But we don't want to implement everything. Somebody designed a button. I'm not going to be designing my own button. I'm just going to use somebody's design of a button. Somebody designed a window. I don't need to design my own window. I'm just going to use what somebody designed. So that's why I need to use what others did, and then I'm going to extend them, add more things to them. That's why before one of the first things that we're going to use whenever we're going to be designing applications, we're going to be extending other classes. And one of the class that we're going to be extending, the main thing that we're going to be doing is I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to call it my first window. Okay, this my first window here is a class. It needs to extend a special class because it will allow me to have this kind of window. I mean, it's not called window. Here it's called a frame. So to use that, we need to extend a special class that somebody designed called a JFrame. Now, JFrame can be found in this package, javax.swing.jframe. That's where the swing comes from when we said we're going to be talking about introduction to swing. Now, the swing comes from because the swing is a package that has a lot of very useful classes to design things. And where some of them we're going to extend like this. There are some interfaces that we're going to be implementing. There's some also classes that we're going to be just using. So we're going to do all these things that we just did in the past few weeks, and then we're going to design a new application. Now, the work that this application is going to be doing, I mean, the way it's going to be working is going to be different from the console application where we had the output, we type something here. Now, the input and outputs are not going to be needed. We're not going to be needing a scanner class to get the values from the keyboard, because I'm going to put the values directly in a place that can hold the text that I can type in. And I'm not going to press the enter to have something to run, because I might need to have many buttons to click on. So which button I would click on, then I'm going to use the mouse to click on something. So now the way things are going to work, they're going to be now we're going to design in something that is going to be event-driven programming. This event-driven programming, which means some code is going to be executed when something happens, when an event happens. What's the event? Well, maybe I start typing, or maybe the event is I clicked on a button, or I closed the window, or I did something. So there's an event that happens, then the code is going to be executed. It's not like when we run our programs, we just run, just start, because we designed it to run and do things. It just asks me for some input or give me some output. But it's not just waiting for different things to happen. You're just entering some values and you're getting the result. It's just input, output, input, output. Now it's going to be slightly different because the window is going to be displaying, waiting for me to decide what should I do. You might have like 5 buttons. Which button should I click on? If this button is clicked, something is going to happen. If this other button is clicked, something else is going to happen. Like, for example, here. I might have this kind of window where I have 3 buttons. Now, which code is going to be executed? Well, the computer is going to wait for me to know which button I'm going to click on. As soon as I click on a button, the code of that button is going to be executed, which is different from what it was when we were using the output, because it was just executing what I was asking to execute. If it needs some input, it's going to ask me, please enter this value, and that's it, and then it continues to execute. Now that's the difference between that. I just don't, well, I'd like this to disappear. So we're going to be designing something similar to this. Like this is like a first something that we design, which is a simple application that we're going to design to, if I click on this button, it's going to count up. It was 7, it will become 8, it was 9, something like that, etc. Or just if I mean, I'm not going to do this at once. The first thing, I'm just going to do one button. And then if I click on that button, then I'm going to put some code in that button. But then I'm not there yet. I just would like to, first of all, design something like this. How can I just design something like this? And that's the first thing we're going to try to do today, inshallah. The coding part, I don't think we'll have time to do that today, so we'll do it tomorrow. Now, how to design something like that. So first of all, I need a frame, a JFrame. That's the first basic thing, because I don't want to design and put the code for all the JFrame, because just a JFrame like this, if I just do this and then run, obviously nothing happens because in the main is empty. So how can I see something? Well, this is my first window. I need to create an object from it that I'm going to like do this equal new, my first window, and then that's it? No. If I would like to see it, I need to do this. Set visible. I'm going to make it true. So I'm designing and creating an object of my first window, which is an instance of, a subclass of JFrame, and then this is going just to display something, hopefully. Oh, it does. It's not really that interesting, but it's something. Well, it's kind of, see the size of it. Oh, now I can just make it bigger. Ah, here it is. Now I have a window. Now, if I did not use JFrame, I need to program myself this thing to be able to expand, to grow, to shrink, to have this kind of buttons over here that are working. So all these are coming by default when I just extend JFrame. I don't need to do anything. That's the advantage of that. If you don't like this, you would like to have something different, well, just design your own JFrame and then you implement it. Yes?
Can I set fixed dimensions so it can't be stretched out?
Exactly. We can do some kind of dimensions. You can do a lot of different things. Yes. But the first thing is, I have a window that has some kind of icon here. And if I click on it, something happens. And then it just disappeared. I don't know what happened. Did I click something? Did I hide it somewhere? Where is it? Now that's the problem. The first problem that I'm having is that, you see, I don't see it anymore, but it's still running. Now, probably what I did, I just closed it. I don't know what happened. I just maybe let's run it again. It's always put here, and then the size is small, and then I need to grow it before I can see it and move it. And then if I click on it, it just disappears, but don't stop the program. Why? Because I need to explicitly tell that when I close, I want it to stop the program. Now, how can I do that? Well, I'm going to do it here. This frame that there's this default, but yeah, this is not the place where you're going to do these things, because this is something like that is about the class itself. This window here, this is my first window. I want to change the behavior of this window. So I'm going to put these things inside here. What are those other things? I'm going just to initialize that, and it tells me, okay, there are many constructors here. Which one you would like to use? Well, I don't know which one. I'm just going to use the one with no arguments. And it says, what is that? And I don't want this. I don't like that. So, you know what? I'm just going to go and have to choose another one. So what are the other ones? Oh, check this one. This one is nice. It just takes a string. It says a title. What title? A title of the window. But it's also bringing me this here thing here. Headless exception. What is that? Well, if I remove it, is it going to be a problem? No. So I'm going to remove it for now. I don't want to have a problem. But what is this thing? If I remove this, I had two options. Do this one, or there's another one with a string that is the title. Now what is the title here? Now the title here means now this is not going to work, but whatever I type here, if I run it, I have this window here, but check this out. Now whatever you type is going to be the title of your window. And yeah, that makes sense. I would like to have, when I design a window, just to give it a title. So I'm going to say it, this is my first window. So now I'm going to do this. Another thing that I'm going to do, remember, if I close, I want it to close. And I need to mention it by doing this. Set default close operation. Now this set default close operation is, there is one that just, it's a JFrame. There's JFrame dot, and there's exit on close. Now notice this, what is this? This is a public, static, final variable. And it has a value of 3. Okay, what is value 3? Well, we don't care about the value, we don't care, but what is interesting for us is this exit on close, which means, you see, when I do this, it's going to tell that now this window, as soon as I close it, it will stop the program. So instead of me having the program running, and if I close this, it stays on, now if I comment it, I lose this behavior again. So now I see my first window is here somewhere, and then if I close it, it just hides, but the program is still running. Now this is the first thing that this does. The set default close operation, I have this. I mean, I have many other options, but I'm not going to be talking about those options for now. Let's just talk about this exit on close, because this is what I would like to do. Later on we'll see other possibilities. Now the other thing that to make this very decent small first window, I need to change the size. Now the size, I would like to specify the length and the width, the height and the width. So I would like to have something that is kind of big, so I'm going just to take 500 by 500, for example. I don't know. 500 what? 500 pixels. Now these are 500 pixels, you can count them if you want, but this is how you can specify the size of your window. Yes? Well, it depends on, of course, if the resolution changes, now it's become bigger, but the pixels are still the same. Now what does the resolution do? It doesn't change the size of your pixels, it just increases the number of pixels to display one thing. Exactly. If you increase the resolution, 500 pixels will just look now smaller. Yeah, something like that. But the idea is I can specify the size of that. And I'm doing this in the constructor now. As soon as I create this object, this is going to kick in and do this. Now I'm running this and I'm having a nice window. I would like to change that to maybe 250 by 500. Now the width is going to be 250 and the height 500. Now maybe the opposite. It's up to you. You can decide to be whatever you would like it to be.
If I set the size to final, then it can't be changed.
If you set size to final, what do you mean? This set size comes from where?
It's coming from
My superclass, anyways. It's not here. So it's, what do you mean set it to final? You cannot set it to final. You can define your own set size if you want to, but then set size is a method not even in the JFrame. Because look, just to get this result that I have right now, to have just with this frame here, just this simple thing that seems very empty, is the result of extending JFrame, which JFrame, let's have a look at it. JFrame extends frame that implements Windows constant, accessible, root pane container, and then some in something else. Well, this is an inner, it seems to be an inner interface. Anyways, now this JFrame is implementing, so there are some methods that are going to be implemented coming from here, but it's also extends the frame, and the frame extends the window, and the window extends the container, and the container extends the component, which extends, this is the component, this is the base class, because it's abstract, and then it implements some kind of things. So you see the hierarchy. You can have a look at this website. I think I put the link somewhere, and you can have some kind of a history of an idea about these different classes and how they are come up. Now the swing is the latest version of the graphical user interface, but before the swing there was something called AWT. That's before the swing. But you can have some kind of I think I've seen that they have, okay, here it is. Yeah, something like, you have some kind, this is container, that is the superclass of a window, there is superclass of the frame, and the frame is still, this is AWT, the old version, and from this they created the JFrame, the one that we're using. The JFrame extends the frame. So this was something that was old, and then they added something to it. But do you have to know this? No. I just want you to know that this is the result of using inheritance, interfaces, abstract classes. My point is, this is why we don't start with executing things on a graphical user interface, because there's a lot of things that are going on. And first of all, you need to use classes. You need to use something that comes from another class and methods. So it uses a lot of different concepts that we have not seen yet. Now that we have seen all of them, all the basics of them, then we can work on this out. Okay, the last part is, how can I design something like this? Or at least something that starts looking like this. Now, first of all, I would like you to realize that there are different types of things that are displayed here. The first type is this one. This is just a text that I'm displaying. This is called the label. We need a special class to display something like that. This is a text field, a special class to display something like that. And these are buttons, a special class to display something like that. So we need three this type of classes to display something like this. So let's know these classes and use them. I need to use these classes, so I'm going to declare them as the private members of this variable, of this new class, my first window. So I'm going to make, the one is called JLabel. I'm going to call it LBL. I don't know, just leave it like this. And private, JTextField is the other one. I'm going to name it TF. And private, JButton, which is going to make it BTN. Now these are different types. There are other types, but these are the basic ones, like the minimum that we can use. Now how can I use these? Okay, all I need to do is to initialize them. Now this label, see, just declared the variables. I did not initialize them. How to initialize them? Well, equal new, and then use a constructor from the JLabel. Okay, I have different options. You can even put a picture if you want, an image, but we're not there yet. I'm just going to use the text because this is what I'd like to use. I'm going just to say counter, and that's it. I prepared a label. Now I need to prepare a text field. Now this TF equal new J text field. Different constructors again. There's one that takes nothing, one that takes a text, and the other one that takes columns. What's the columns? It's basically the size of that text. How many numbers you would like to put, how many characters that are possible in it. So if I put, for example, 10, it means I'm going to put a size of 10. If I put it 15, it's a bit slightly bigger or longer.
So give me 10 small boxes?
No, just one of them, but that has the size of it is having like 10 characters that can be put visible on them.
Are they int or string?
This is an int. Now you see, I have different constructors. One that takes a string. If I use this one, the text is going to be shown inside that, whatever I type. If I use this one, I'm going just to mention what's the size of that JText field. So I just use the one that is empty because I just like to use the default behavior.
glabel is inherited of class.
No, this is just a class that I'm using.
You didn't create
I did. I declared the variable from this class.
where is glabel?
I just imported it so I can use it. It's from all of these. Notice they're all inside the swing. So these are all classes that I'm just using. I'm not defining them. I'm not inheriting from them. I'm inheriting only from JFrame. But these are going to be used by the JFrame. So the label, the text field, the button. And now the button, how can I initialize it? Is a new JButton, same thing. Again, there's different options. But I'm just going to use the one that the text that says what they would like to see on the button. So I'd like to say count up, for example. I'm going to count up. So whatever you type here is going to be, you're going to be seeing it. Let's do this like this. Maybe it will be count up. Now is that it? That's it. I just declared them, initialize them, and they're going to be showing off. Well, in which order? In which place? So it's not like that. Just tell them, okay, these are 3. You just put them somewhere. No, I have to tell where these are going to be, because now if I run this, nothing is going to happen because I'm not going to see them. How can I see them? I need to add them to this window. Now I just declared this. I did not put them inside. How can I put them inside? I need to use add. Add is a method that is going to be from component. And notice this component, I'm going to add. Now what I would like to add, the label first. Then I'd like to add the text field. Then I'd like to add the button. Okay, now that I added them in this order, are they going to be one next to each other or one below each other? Let's run and see. Oh, it's one on top of the other, which means the last one that I added is the one that is on top. That means if I change this and put it in the bottom, is it going to change something? Well, first of all, let's close this and run it again. Here, I'm only seeing the last one that I added, which means it's like putting everything on top of each other. Why? Because there's something else. I need to mention how when I add these components, each one of these are a component. When I add these different components to a frame, I need to mention what's the layout, how they are going to be put inside that frame. Now there's a different type of layouts. You can put them in different shapes, whatever. The simplest one, the straightforward one, we just put them one after the other. That's the easiest one. It's called the flow layout. But I need to set it to mention I'd like to add this layout. So one of the things here, when I initialize, I'm going to say set layout. And there's something called set layout. And then in this layout manager, it's just going to tell me what kind of layout manager I'm going to use. I'm going to create a new flow layout. Now check this. I'm creating an object from this, and I'm sending it inside this layout. And this is how I say I'm using this flow layout. Flow layout means you put them, they're going to be one next to each other. Now it will make sense that if I follow this, the first one is the label, it's going to put the first one first. Then the text field will be next to that. And then the button will be next to it. But what if I don't have space in, I cannot go, the size is smaller, it will just go down and keep going. So it's going to put them from left to right, and then when it's full, it's going to go down and keep going. Now let's run. How about that? So this is the counter. What is that? This is my text field, but it doesn't seem very long. And this is the button count up. Let me close this, change this a bit, put some, for example, 10, run it again. That makes more sense. So now I have a size of 10. If I want it to be smaller, bigger, whatever, I just can put whatever number I want. Now I'd make it smaller or bigger. So it depends on me. Now notice before I take your question that if I make this smaller, what is going to happen? What if it was like this? Oh, it goes down. Oh, you see it goes down. So it just finds based on what's the space that it has inside that window. You just put them one next to each other. But if there's no space, you put them next to each other, it goes down and keep going. What if it's so small that I cannot see anything? Well, that's your business. It's your job. You have to decide what you would like to see. So if you put them small, too small, you're not going to be seeing anything. Okay, let's take a question.
Can I change the dimensions from each one of these? Label the button.
Well, labels, there's not much dimension that goes to it. It's just like a text that you put. You can change with the font size, the font color, things like that. Yes, you make it bigger, etc. You can play with that. Yes, but some others you can just change them the way that they are. I mean, there's some other things you can do, but anyways, in short, yes. Yes.
So you said size 500.
Yes.
Now you are able to shrink.
This one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you're able to shrink. Size.
Well, it doesn't have. It's not meant with the size. If I remove this, I'm still able to shrink. If I run this thing, the only problem now is that it's going to be like this. Now I need to grow and shrink so I can see it. But still, this is not related to the size. The growing and shrinking is something that I get from just extending the JFrame. Now this is going to allow me just to, instead of me making it bigger, it's just immediately bigger. Now I can do, for example, something, make it like this, maybe 250 is enough, and put 500, something like that. And then you see, it did not find enough space here, so it just put it back, put it in the bottom. And if I want to give it more space, let's just put 350, for example. Now let's close this and run it again. And now this is something.
Set size is changing the default size of
The default size of the frame. You can also set the position. Now you see the position goes always on the top left. Set position, set preferred, no. Set location. So set location. Now if I'd like to set a location, now if I put 500 by 500, now what is going to happen is that the location is now this window, instead of showing up here, it's just going to show by 500 by 500.
So margin 500 from the top, margin.
Yeah, but the 0 is from here. This is positive x, this is positive y. So this is y, it just shows from like the 0 is here, so this is 1, 2, 3, 500, and then 1, 2, 3, 500. And then this is where it starts showing your thing. So anyways, these are things. There's so many things here. But notice that if I have set, there's a lot of things that are available. And of course, you're not going to be learning each one of them. But whenever we need something, we're going to look for it and try to see if we can do it. It's available. And many things are available already. So now, yes, you have a question?
Yeah, the color. Do I just write the name of the color, or there's the next code?
No, there's another code for that. For the color, you have to use some other code. But there's a class called color that you can use. Yeah.
But I'm not writing like blue and big blue.
There's some blue thing that you can write, yeah. Yeah, there's some parts where you can just write the blue or green. There's some like defined name of colors that you can use.
RGB.
You can also use the RGB as well, put numbers in them. But now let's just take small steps. First of all, I just would like you to get familiar now with this set close, diff operation, set size, set layout. Set location maybe is not something that is really that important, but I'm just giving it to you so you can see now, for example, so it's going to be somewhere here. So it's up to you. How about this? So it's going to be somewhere in the center. So anyways, then I would like you to create all these things. So just for today, for the few minutes that are left, just create this class and then just make something that looks like this. Let me free you and stop recording.